One of the guys
I didn't know any other way.
One of the guys at our Bally's, he was like this big old bodybuilder that wore like, you know, where the neck's like this big and the sleeve comes down here, like the old school like 90s stuff.
Boat neck shirts.
Yeah, and he'd be like, if you're not stuffed, you're wrong. He goes, you need to feel like you're throwing up all the time. You're not eating enough. And I'm like, oh shit, okay. I started like pounding food. I'm like, oh,
full bulk.
Yeah, he's like, you gotta be feeling stuffed. You need to be feeling like you need to throw up every hour. I'm like, oh shit, okay. And I'm like this 15-year-old kid that's just trying to learn how to lift. And although that's probably the broest thing in the world, it helped like really expand, because I was able to like double and triple my appetite, which, you know, I think was just super important if you want to bulk. So like seeing like where my journey was and seeing that like that was probably the most broest thing you could scream at someone, but it did have a lot of benefit because now I'm able to eat just so much more.
Right.
Versus people that are like, oh, I can't hit my calories. Well, you're never gonna be able to bulk until you expand it.
Recording? Yeah. We might as well just go for it on this. We'll just expand a little bit more on bulking since we're talking about it. And
Hide my underwear.
Your panties are showing?
Yeah, my G-string.
Damn, it's hanging down low. Wasn't expecting that. So you put on some good muscle over the years. Like how have you been able to bulk? Like what are some things that you've been doing to get bigger? Your arms are looking bigger, traps are looking bigger, legs are looking bigger.
I've been sticking to a pound of protein.
Steroids? Oh.
Yeah, no, a gram of protein per pound of body weight. That's really important to get the protein in because that's literally what your muscles are made of. And also I think just messing around with the different ways of training. I was into CrossFit for a while, and you know, in a more functional based style of training, that was maybe like 2012, 2011. It was like that thought process and philosophy is the smaller muscle parts are always going to be engaged in the bigger compound movements. So I did try that where I didn't hit any accessories or any isolation movements, and my arms shrank an inch. And I realized not everyone could be like Jason Khalipa, where you do power cleans and your biceps grow. Mm-hmm. So just like kind of figuring out what my body needs and how many times, and I realized I didn't have to hit traps at all. My traps just grow on its own as long as I hit shoulders and back. So kind of just messing around and learning how my body responds over the years has helped me be able to put on muscle and now keep it.
And then the nutrition's a big part of it. You just would go into like, I know you like weigh your food and stuff like that, and you pay close attention to that. So just eating a caloric surplus.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm one of those guys that like, I like to know what the limits and boundaries are. So I've competed as low as 165. I've been as heavy as 230. I've gone as bro as just, you know, eating whole pizzas a day and to weighing every single thing that I eat. And I like to kind of see where all the boundaries are and kind of understand where my body and try to find where the happy medium is for everything.
What do you think maybe like are two or three things that people maybe don't know about like getting bigger? Because like to me, I would say like maybe one kind of hidden thing about appearing bigger is just being leaner.
Yes, that's
like
huge.
Part of the reason why you look jacked right now is because you're not fat.
Yeah. Something about, you know, like when you're lifting or bodybuilding, you're really just sculpting who you are. And so like if you have just a round cylinder, it might not look that wide, but you start like taking out the bottom, then it makes the top look way wider. And like Gio was like, wow, did you get wider? And I'm actually, no, I actually got skinnier, but because I was able to take out some of the midsection, your body just gets in a better shape and it's like an optical illusion. So like looking leaner makes my forearms look bigger, makes everything look bigger. You know?
More points with Gio is always good, and making everything look bigger. Hey now.
Yeah. Especially what matters the most.
All right, there you go. There's some tips on how you can bulk and how you can get swole. You mentioned what you did with your protein. Can you mention quickly what you do with your carbs and your fat?
Yeah, so for me, my maintenance for fat is usually between 70 to like 100 grams. And so if I need to lose weight, then I go towards 70, and sometimes I have to be down in like the 50s and 60s. If I'm trying to gain weight, then I'll go above 100. But I try not to go too much over 100, because then I find myself just resorting to like the more unhealthy things. Carbs, usually around anywhere from 100 to 200 grams of carbs works for me. And if I'm doing like really cardio intensive things, I can bump up my carbs a little bit more. But I feel like my metabolism is pretty average. I'm not one of those guys that can just constantly pound like 500 grams of carbs, probably like the way Nsima can. Or I'm also not one of those guys that eat 1 grain of rice and go boom, you know. So I'm pretty average. So it's pretty easy for me where and I feel like, you know, most people are probably pretty average too with their metabolism. So I think going based off those like quick suggestions could help.
Also with bulking, don't forget just to commit to it. Commit to it, be consistent with it, and try not to have too many goals going on at one time, right?
Yeah.
You can get yourself distracted by saying, oh, I need to be leaner right now too, because they did talk about being leaner, but you want to try to chase after one thing at a time, work on your bulking when it's time to bulk, work on leaning out when it's time to lean out, and you can also maybe find a way to kind of ride that line a little bit the way that Bart's doing, because you're incorporating some running, some martial arts, and some lifting as well. So you can bulk, but you don't have to bulk to the point where, like, you took it too far, you said.
Yeah.
Going with 230. I did the same thing, going 330. You don't have to do it like either one of us. You can have a slower progression, and you can look more jacked along the way rather than just being fat.
Yeah, and give everything you're doing like a good 2 to 3 months to really let your body adapt and see how you feel and see how it affects the rest of your life, because that's really important too. Like what happens in the gym, seeing how that affects your social life and your relationships, like that's important too, because that's how you're able to sustain things. Yeah.
All right, we gave you guys all the tips on how to get jacked. We expect the next time that we see you for you to be more jacked. Strength is never weakness, weakness never strength. Catch you guys later.